Hey folks, welcome back to the channel Techado. And if you suddenly are seeing this video, it's a part of a whole web episode that I have started about a health series to spread more awareness about COVID-19 and to eliminate a lot of misinformation that is going on all around. So if you are looking for an answer and if you are looking to understand this pattern of the disease or pattern of this news spread, I would highly recommend you to stick around because this is going to be an episode which will give you a clear fact and a clear understanding of what's going on. But before you do that, go back to the playlist which I've created. I will also post a link below. Watch all those videos and then come back and watch this episode. For my returning subscribers, this episode is going to be a very interesting episode because last time when we talked about how it spreads and everything, and we did a comparison chart and everything, remember in my third episode I did talk about that the difference between an RNA and a DNA virus, and that's what we are going to do today. So we are going to mix this chapter with vaccination, we are going to mix this chapter with immunization and the factor of COVID-19. Now to begin this, we're going to tell you one thing, and you're going to remember this thing, is that the older the virus, the better the vaccine and less chances of infection. Okay, so remember that, and we are going to come back to this. So immunization is basically two types: active and passive. Usually when we talk about vaccines, we are going to talk about active immunization. When we are going to talk about passive immunization, it's going to be more dedicated for immunization like from a maternal like perspective, which means that a mother who is giving birth to a child is being given a BCG vaccine or Hep B vaccine, so that antibodies goes from the mother to the placenta to the fetus, and that's how it's transferred. So passive immunization is not what we are going to talk about today. Active immunization is what we are concentrating on. So what is active immunity? Active immunity is that the population that has developed immunity against a certain sort of disease. Now in this scenario, we are going to talk about COVID-19 or SARS CoV-2 or beta coronavirus subtype. Beta coronavirus has been in this planet since 1980. It has been discovered. Now this used to affect non-vertebrates like bats, birds. Yes, they come from there. And today also you're going to look at the virus that is affecting Italy and Spain is not the same virus that had spread in China. What is the reason behind it? We're going to share this very quickly with you. But let's jump back to active immunity. So for example, remember SARS CoV-1. We're going to go back to SARS CoV-1, and when we are talking about active immunity, we should also talk about, hey, so thus what about those patients, those who got recovered from SARS CoV-1, and then what about those people, those who recovered from MERS or Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome? Why cannot we just go back and do something like take some immunoglobulins from them and make a vaccine or anything? Friends, the thing is that the reason is many, and to understand this, let's think about one thing very important, is that what sort of virus is this? It's a beta coronavirus, right? So there are many strains of this virus, and there are many strains that has been identified, but the strain that was spreading or causing mild to moderate to higher respiratory sort of syndrome was beta coronavirus NL63, which is HCOV human coronavirus NL63 strain. Now NL63 strain was first observed in 2004, and from there forward it was observed multiple times till 2000, I think 8, and then 2012 SARS CoV-1 happened, and we were like, okay, so what are we going to do? And we went through that small epidemic that had happened, and then came MERS. So the thing is that could there be a vaccine that has been developed over these years? Well, friends, the thing is that you have to understand one thing, that RNA viruses are way more different than DNA viruses, and hence it brings back to our third episode that we talked about. RNA viruses and DNA viruses are totally different. So what is an RNA virus? An RNA virus's job is to take genetic coding. So imagine like there is a envelope, In that envelope, there is multiple sentences that it's written. So the virus comes to your body, takes that envelope and gives it to the cell. The cell, which is your body is made up of, so basically you are made up of multiple minions if you think in that perspective. These cells take that envelope, opens the envelope, reads the letter. I'm like, oh, okay, so I need to send this to the DNA and I have to forward this. So they take the letter, gives it to the DNA. The DNA reads the letter, puts that whatever is written out there in their original letter and sends it to the body. But the thing is that when this RNA comes in, it brings different types of letter. So how can you stop? You can make the letter, one of the letter disappear, because your body knows how to stop that letter from being delivered to the cell, but you can only stop one. You cannot stop multiple of them. So here comes the perspective of mutation. Now, perspective of mutation is that every RNA virus, they mutate. Now, mutation doesn't mean that it has to be aggressive. It can be a very mild form of mutation, little bit symptoms of like cough and sneeze, like having a little bit mild fever, nothing major. And that is the whole purpose of vaccination, to not make RNA viruses aggressive. Now, folks, the thing is that over the years, we have fought a lot of wars that you did not see, wars that were fought by WHO. A lot of countries actually fought this war, and our sole purpose was to eradicate MMR, which had the highest mortality. If you consider COVID-19 or SARS CoV-2, it is not that sort of a mortality, but the mortality rate that MMR possessed was way more higher. So these viruses are RNA viruses. So measles, mumps, and rubella. One is a rubeola virus, one is a rubeola virus, and then you have rubella as its own. And these viruses, they are all RNA viruses. Now, of these viruses being aggressive, their aggressiveness has been pacified by doing multiple vaccinations all over the world, all over the planet. And that is the reason the aggressiveness of this virus has decreased. So why there was no testing done? You understood that there was actually testing which was done. There was vaccinations which were created, but vaccines can give you, again, what sort of immunization it is. It is an active form of immunization. So an active form of immunization that makes antibodies in your body can only give you immunity up to a certain amount of time, which is 2 to 3 years. In SARS CoV-1, if I probably remember, immunity was 2 or 3 years. After that, you have to take a booster dose. And most of the time, we even forget to take booster dose. I've seen so many times, I have even forgotten to take a booster dose of tetanus. If I am in that field of, working with sharp equipments and everything. And this is prime importance, because this will help us from getting, this will help us eradicating this disease much more faster if we get immunized too, or we get vaccinations too. The reason that there is it's very hard to make any sort of vaccination is that there are multiple copies of it, right? There are multiple strains of it. If you make a vaccination on that older strain, the amount of immunization or immunization efficiency would actually increase. So yes, vaccination is in the books. Yes, you will have to revaccinate yourself. You have to take those booster doses after every 1 year or so. If you keep on doing that, and especially for people, those who are healthcare workers, especially for people, those who are, those who are above 65 years old, people who suffers from complications, those who suffer from diabetes, hypertension, and any comorbid disease, it doesn't matter what your age is. Even if you're immunosuppressant, you see yourself getting affected by flu after every year or so, do take the vaccinations once they arrive. So you understood in this episode that that the COVID-19 actually, or the SARS coronavirus 2 actually mutates, And that is the reason vaccination is becoming next to impossible to find a proper vaccine that would, that would prevent this disease from happening again or reoccur again. But then again, if we find the older strain of this virus and make an immunization process or vaccination against the older strain by creating more antibodies in your body, this will give a better immunization efficiency, and henceforth you will see that the vaccinations will happen in the future, and you will see that I think it's already been developed and they're talking about it, and they are making multiple forms of it. So if you have liked this presentation, if you love this episode, do leave a comment below your thoughts, and anti-vacciners or anti-vaxxers that are present in US, you guys unfortunately are not entertained in this channel. If you are a believer of an anti-vaxxer, please go ahead and unsubscribe to my channel. Why? Because I cannot say why. I cannot say why, because it's so inhuman to say that you are believing a propaganda that is going to cause death rather than developmental challenge that we can actually live with if we make our society to learn how to adapt to these kids who are in this world with special needs. So take care. See you guys on another episode. Goodbye.